It's Ash from Super Videos back for another one. In this video, we'll be looking at the new villains of the second half of Season 6 of Fear the Walking Dead, known at this point as the End is the Beginning group. I'll be explaining everything we know about this group, all the setup and the clues and hints to what they are like, and also I'll be making some predictions about how the story of the settlers led by Virginia can be intertwined with the story revolved around this new group. So stick around, we'll be back to cover all of that and more. Alright, before we start, if you're new here, consider subscribing to join our community if you enjoy the content by the end, and don't forget to smash the like button if you enjoy what you see. And also press the bell button on the bottom right to get notified when I upload. Let's get right into it. The first thing we're gonna look at is who this group is that were introduced in Season 6 of Fear, what their motivation is, and how they might potentially tie into the bigger Walking Dead universe. This group, which at this point is known as the End is the Beginning group, appears to be some sort of a cross hybrid between a possibly religious cult and a large colony looking for expansion and growing their network. Kind of like Virginia and her settlers, or the CRM at a much larger scope. The first tease of this group came early on in Season 6, when we saw them spray paint a submarine with the message "The End is the Beginning," hence why we call them the End is the Beginning group. Now what does this mean? Well, this is the first clue that this group might be a religious group of some sort. This could be a message meant to describe how the apocalypse is a type of end of a world situation, and it is God's way of testing us, a test where only the most faithful will survive. This sort of relates back to something that Herschel said in the original show: "I can't profess to understand God's plan, but Christ promised a resurrection of the dead. I just thought he had something a little different in mind." End of quote. Additionally, this message could have a much darker meaning behind it. The End is the Beginning could also be hinting at this cult-like group trying to bring the literal end by killing those who survived so far, so that the beginning can come sooner. Now you may ask, why would they leave those messages around? Well, it could be a way to spread their message and recruit people, so it's like propaganda to brainwash people. Now, as deep and interesting a story like this, where we have a sort of religious cult in this universe, there could be a much simpler explanation. Now, before we jump into that, there's another clue for why this group might be a religious cult, but I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But I think there could be a much simpler explanation for this group's motivation. In order to understand their motivation, we need to look back at the first time they were introduced. They spray painted the message over a submarine. This hints at the possibility that they may have claimed the submarine. In fact, they were looking for a key which may lead them into the submarine. Now, what can they do with a submarine as large as this in a post-apocalyptic world? They may actually be either part of a large organization that may be able to use the submarine, or they may be working with a large group that can use it. Either way, unless there's supplies in there like weapons that they may want to get their hands on, the only explanation why they would want to claim a submarine is if they can actually use it. And at this point, the only group large enough and capable enough to be able to use a submarine is the Civic Republic military, or the CRM. Now, before you roll your eyes at me, I do agree this might be a little bit of a reach, that the CRM is working with these people to get their hands on a submarine. Like, they have all of those soldiers who can do that much more efficiently and effectively. However, I think that the two storylines may be intertwined here. I think that this group may not necessarily be working with CRM, but this submarine could be a setup to link the story back with the CRM at some point in the future. What I mean by that is that the CRM may show up again later on because of this submarine, assuming it won't be destroyed. So the submarine is just a setup for later on. But that doesn't take away the fact that this group spray painted the message and they're looking for the key. So let's talk about the key. Of course, Virginia hired the bounty hunter to deliver the key to someone, perhaps the same people that we saw next to the submarine. However, the bounty hunter was killed before he could deliver the key to them. And it's none other than Morgan who has the key now. The guys I mentioned found Morgan and wanted the key, but Morgan killed them. But there's probably more people from where they came from who may want to get their hands on the key, who may now be after Morgan because they know that he has the key. And also Morgan himself knows at this point that the key is important. But it's much more than just the key and the submarine. This group spray painted walls, trees, of no apparent relevance or importance as well. For example, they spray painted the walls in that building that Dwight and Al went to. They also spray painted the tree that Virginia and her settlers found. But at the same time, they also spray painted an oil tanker that belonged to Virginia and her settlers. So maybe these messages are just a way to claim their territory, and the submarine was useless to them unless they could see inside. Hence why the key is of relevance to them. But let's backtrack. If Virginia wanted to deliver the key to them via the bounty hunter, then why would they claim her land? And now that Morgan has the key, wouldn't she be worried that Morgan will find the submarine? That leads me to think that Virginia did not want to deliver this key to them. Maybe, and this might be a stretch, but maybe Virginia is actually working with the CRM as well. Much like how the Omaha colony from the Walking Dead World Beyond were working with the CRM. Maybe Virginia wanted to deliver this key to someone from the CRM. And also the size of Virginia's colony is big enough for the CRM to want to bother with working or trading with her. So if this is the case, then maybe this new group just happened to find the submarine and wanted it. But now that Morgan has the key and the CRM may be looking for the key, this could be a good setup to get Morgan in a position where he might be able to cross paths with the CRM and possibly cross into the movies through them. Now let's switch gears a little bit. Looking at the trailer for the second half of Season 6 of Fear, there is a dialogue, which appears to be some sort of a speech from a new character. This is what he says, and before I read it, I thought it was very clever how the words match the images shown. So pay attention to that as I go through this. He says, "Death, destruction, decay, it's inevitable. But from this death comes life. And you are Alicia. I've been looking for someone like you for a long time." Now the rumors or speculations are that this guy right here is the leader of the End is the Beginning group. And honestly, his speech does seem cultish to me, and it definitely fits the general motivation of this group based on what I've discussed so far, which, like I said, is a hybrid between a group looking to claim everyone and everything and a cult that possibly has religious motivations or roots. Obviously, he has captured Alicia and is talking to her. The whole speech could actually be him talking to Alicia. Some people may assume that he knows she's with Morgan, and he may think that she has the key, the same key that we were talking about, hence why she captured her to get his hands on the key. But I don't think so. Pay attention to what he says. He says, "I've been looking for someone like you for a long time." So he wasn't necessarily looking for Alicia, just someone like her. Now you may ask, what does that mean? This could go back to what I said earlier, where this group is claiming people and also things. So they may have been looking for someone possibly as strong or brave as Alicia. They may not necessarily know that she's with Morgan. And who knows, maybe Morgan will come to save her. And that way, he might get the reveal about who this group is, and he may be able to connect the dots with the key and everything. But again, we are assuming that 1, he's related to the End is the Beginning group, and 2, he's their leader. But I think that's a solid assumption at this point. Now, with all of that said, how does this relate to Virginia and her settlers? Or how can these two stories work together? Well, like I said, Virginia is already a part of this story, since she wants the key, just like them. And also, she has been following their activities. We know that because she found areas that they spray painted, and they even spray painted Virginia's oil tankers. With all of that said though, there's actually 3 ways in which these stories could wrap up. 1, Morgan and Virginia call truce and work together to defeat this new threat, which is the End is the Beginning group. Or 2, Virginia goes to war with the new group and one destroys the other, and Morgan and gang finish the job. Or 3, which I think would be more interesting, is to bring CRM back into the picture. I honestly think that we're probably going to see the first case. It might not be the best option because it's too obvious, but I doubt that they're gonna do anything different. So I think that what we're gonna see at the end of the day is Virginia and Morgan are gonna continue trying to outsmart the other and defeat the other, and there's gonna be a point where they're gonna figure out that they need to work together to defeat their common enemy, possibly because it's mutually beneficial for both of them. And after that, they're gonna work together to defeat them, and it's very likely that at the end of that, Virginia is going to die and Morgan and the others will take over the settlers. And depending on how long Fear the Walking Dead is gonna last, whether it's gonna go on for another season or 2 after season 7, because obviously season 7 has been greenlit, but after that, depending on how long it's gonna go for, there might be a situation where they might intertwine that story with the bigger Walking Dead universe story and have Morgan and the settlers join in with people from the original show, and they may connect that to the movies and have like an all-out war situation or something along those lines with the CRM. But that's topic for another video. That's pretty much everything I wanted to cover though. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload. And also share your thoughts and opinions about everything discussed in this video down below. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.